Greek food is some of the best there is, and the island of Paros is one of the more affordable islands to dine on some tasty Greek cuisine. In this video, we're trying upscale and budget options, sharing prices, and walking through the top foods you need to try when you visit the Greek island of Paros.
For our first stop, we're heading down to sea level to enjoy a nice meal by the water. Here, amongst the sound of crashing waves, we're seated seaside to enjoy some classic Greek dishes. So we've settled into our table here and our appetizers just came out, and we are really excited to try this. This is a classic Greek dish called saganaki, and it's actually fried cheese, and it's served with the lemon, which you've already squeezed on there. I had this growing up in Chicago a couple times when we went to Greek town restaurants, but I'm really excited to try it here now that we're in Greece. Back home, they typically flame it at your table and lots of pageantry and flames. Here they do it just back in the kitchen, so it's a little tamer, but still looks pretty good. I've actually heard in Chicago they've kind of stopped doing the saganaki flaming due to insurance reasons, so I haven't been to Greek town in a while, but if you know if that's true or false, please let me know. But we're pretty hungry. I'm going for my first bite here. You can see it has a nice grilled texture to it, but still pretty firm. Tastes exactly like how I remember it. You get that acidity from the lemon. It almost has that taste of like the tiny crunchy bits you get on grilled cheese, but that's the entire bite here. And the cheese itself is really good. It almost reminds me a bit of a cheese curd. The curd will squeak in your teeth as you eat it. I got a little squeak with this, so you can tell it's really fresh cheese. I'm really enjoying this.
The next appetizer we got is dolmadas, or stuffed grape leaves with a yogurt sauce. We're not actually sure what these are stuffed with. I think you can stuff them with a variety of things. Typically it's either rice, mincemeat, or seafood of some kind. This is one of the staple foods that we needed to get while we were in Greece. So we finally got our hands on some and we are ready to dive in. And obviously a dinner in Greece doesn't get more picture perfect than dining on the sea. This might be one of the prettiest dinner views we've had on our trip so far, and it makes the food taste that much better. So I'm gonna do a little dip in the yogurt sauce and go in here. From what I could tell, I don't see any meat in these. It looks like it's just rice as of now, so we'll see. Wow, the grape leaves are almost sour a little bit. I'm kind of puckering up, and the inside is a lot chewier than I expected, but that yogurt sauce adds such a creamy balance to the dish. That's such a perfect fresh blend of different tastes. We have absolutely been devouring yogurt while we've been in Greece, so I definitely recommend picking some up in the grocery store when you're here and just having it for breakfast with a little bit of honey. That's what we've been doing. But I think this might be the best yogurt sauce we've had so far. That's such a perfect light appetizer to start a meal. We got ourselves a little dinner friend too. I think he's probably upset we're in between courses right now though. So next up here we have zucchini bites. I'm not exactly sure if these are traditionally Greek, but we've heard great things about them from this restaurant in particular, so we just had to try them. It sounded really good. So I could be wrong, but I think this is kind of simple. I think it's just fried zucchini, and it looks like we have the same yogurt sauce on the side, but we'll figure that out as well. They seem very crunchy so far. Yeah, so it looks like there's shredded zucchini in there, there's some herbs, and I think there's maybe feta cheese in there as well, but we'll see. The outside is incredibly crispy, but the inside is almost mashed potato-y, and it is piping hot, which makes it 10 times better. I'm gonna go in for what I think is a yogurt sauce bite. Yeah, it's yogurt sauce and it's amazing. That pairs so well together. Yeah, it's kind of like a potato pancake a little bit, but you get a little bit of greens in there.
That looks awesome.
Wonderful.
Woohoo! Enjoy.
Thank you. Wow.
So we ordered a single portion of chicken souvlaki, and it came out and it is massive. It looks like it came with 3 humongous strips of chicken, lettuce, seems like half a tomato, some pita bread, a lemon, a bed of French fries, and what looks to be some yellow sauce, which I'm actually not entirely sure what that is. I feel like most of the sauces we've seen have been white yogurt or tzatziki based, so I'm eager to try that. Oftentimes souvlaki is served as skewered meat, so it'll come as chicken or pork. Sometimes it's served actually in a pita wrap where it's more of a sandwich itself, but these ones look like they're on the skewer and they look really well fried. They look juicy and tender already. I don't think this is a fork and knife dish. I'm just going dunk in here. Forgive me if this is the wrong way to eat this, but I'm going for it. Wow, that is so juicy and tender. It almost tastes like it's been marinated in a really spice-heavy sauce. Yeah, that chicken just melts in your mouth, and then as you chew it, the marinade just bursts in there. And it has a nice smoky flavor to it. You can definitely tell it was cooked on the grill, and it seems like the other things on this plate will speak for themselves, veggies and pita. So we're gonna slowly work our way through this as we admire the amazing view. All right, we just can't get enough of these visitors here at our table. Someone doesn't understand table for two, huh? Our dinner guests are multiplying, and this guy's pretty aggressive, but still adorable.
The next stop on our food tour is taking us to a hidden gem on the island. Here, we're visiting one of the best spots to grab traditional Greek food, complete with a nicely covered patio and easy cafeteria-style ordering. We're at a place called Lemon E, and this place just screams homemade Greek food. So they essentially just had a bunch of hot dishes out, and you sort of just go down the line and pick what looks good to you. So the number one thing we came here to get was pistachio, which is essentially Greek lasagna. And what's really interesting about pistachio is they actually bake full noodles into the casserole. So instead of the lasagna that you're used to with the flat layered lasagna noodles, there's actually what looks like full penne noodles at the bottom of this dish. And then I think there's a heaping slab of cheese on top as well as ground meat. So I am starving. We haven't had much to eat all day besides some berry snacks. So I'm gonna dive into a bite here. So that was definitely a bite I wasn't expecting. There's actually what seems to be no marinara sauce in this dish, and instead it's replaced by a creamy bechamel sauce.
Good.
Delicious. We will. We'll eat it all. Yeah, we've been told to hurry up and eat it or it's gonna get cold. Another surprising flavor I'm getting from this is actually cinnamon, and I actually had to just Google to make sure that was correct. And there definitely is cinnamon in this dish. And obviously you can see he gave us a heaping filling, and he keeps coming back to make sure we're actually eating it all. That's so good.
I just had a bite of this, and Courtney was so right. It is cheesy. Normally lasagna is just drenched in tomato sauce, and I like this, I think, 10 times better. It is just so creamy. It's such a different flavor. Definitely try this when you come to Greece. So another thing we got here that we were really excited to try in Greek is a Greek salad. And we're learning the Greeks make their Greek salad very different than how we make them back in the States. So there's actually no lettuce in here. It looks like it's entirely made of tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, and I think the biggest slice of feta cheese I've ever seen. It looks like there's also some olives on here, which we'll see if those have pits in them or not, or if we're gonna break a tooth. And then the whole thing looks like it's drenched in what looks to be olive oil and maybe balsamic, but it looks really fresh, and I can't wait to dive in. Here goes nothing. That is so crisp and light. I feel like so many European dishes are so heavy with meat and potatoes, and this is just so light and refreshing. The onions have that nice sharpness to it, which really brings the freshness to it, and the spices that it's got on there really make it feel really well seasoned without being heavy. I can't believe I drenched salads back home in Caesar dressing because this is so much better. I'm gonna go for a bite of this fresh cheese on top. Courtney won't tell you, I am a sucker for feta cheese. She's caught me many times sneaking crumbles out of the fridge at night, and this is so much better than the crumbled stuff we get at home. Really refreshing and delightful dish to try.
And two more dishes we got to try are rice-filled peppers and tomatoes, as well as meatballs. It's kind of funny, the meatballs were a last-minute decision because he was trying to convince us to eat more, but I don't think we're gonna regret that. And we've heard they have great meatballs here, so I'm gonna first go into the rice and pepper dish. Got a big bite here. God, that has a flavor that's on the tip of my tongue and I just can't think of right now, but the pepper is so nicely charred and the rice is surprisingly creamy. I think there's some sort of sauce they mix with it. Yeah, it's kind of unassuming at first, but you get hit with a ton of flavor the more it sits on your tongue. I'm gonna go into a meatball bite here too. Wow. Oh my gosh, that might be one of my favorite meatballs I've ever had. It really falls apart so easily. And I'm looking into it now and I don't see much flavoring or anything mixed with it. It doesn't seem to be too breadcrumb heavy, and maybe that's why it's coming off as way more flavorful, but get another bite with this. Oh my gosh, that's incredibly good. And it doesn't seem like it's been soaked in too much marinara either, so getting such a hearty, meaty flavor out of that. This is the perfect place if you're looking for comfort food in Paros.
So we probably look like savages tearing into this, but it is honestly so good. I don't think there's a single thing on this plate I wouldn't recommend. One of the things that surprised me most is this stuffed tomato. I feel like I've had stuffed peppers countless times in my life, and I've never once had a stuffed tomato. And I think I actually like the stuffed tomato better. The skin's way softer, so you can cut through it easier, and it's way easier to chew on the tongue. I feel like those are peppers, you get tough bites. That is such an interesting take on that.
So we've been talking to the chef a bit more. He's been popping in and out and asking how everything is. And he told us about a couple of things that make his dish special. So one thing he talked about was the bechamel sauce that he used on top of the Greek lasagna. And he said that the invention of bechamel sauce was a mistake because it's a combination of milk, flour, and butter. And you have to mix it so perfectly so it's not too chewy, but it's not runny either. And he said that he has perfected his bechamel sauce on top. And I would completely agree. It almost solidifies as if it were cheese. And he said he also doesn't really know how the Greek adopted it from the French, but we are definitely glad they did because it works so well. This is one of those places that really surprised us, and we are absolutely loving it and would highly, highly recommend to anybody coming to Paros. With our bellies mostly full, we're spending some time wandering the quaint Paros streets, admiring the cozy shops, little cafes, and yes, seemingly endless cats. After petting as many as we could find, we're sitting down for a quick dessert from a cute cafe on the island. All right, so we got ourselves a little sweet treat here in Paros. We've actually been seeing a lot of waffles being served with ice cream here in Greece, but obviously the prices are going to be cheaper in Paros versus Mykonos where we were seeing them also. We decided to indulge ourselves here. They did make this waffle fresh, so we just sat at the table and waited for it to come out. And then we also got a scoop of Nutella ice cream on top, so we go in for a little double bite here. The waffle tastes like a standard waffle, which I'm very happy with, but the ice cream has a really powerful Nutella flavor. Going for another bite here. It's a nice little contrast because they made the waffle right in front of us, so it's piping hot and topped with ice cold ice cream, so really refreshing and satisfying. And you could also get it with some toppings if you wanted to.
After a great evening in Paros and exploring the town after the sun went down, we're waking up for a fun day of exploring the island. For this, we're catching a bus to the other major town in Paros to marvel at the sights and, more importantly, taste some of the amazing Greek food. We'll be releasing a complete guide to the top things to see in Paros shortly, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. Anyways, we're starting off eating some takeaway street food with a great view on this part of the island. So we've officially left the main port town in Paros, and we embarked on about a 25-minute bus ride to get here. This is the town of Naoussa, and it's right on the sea, and it is so beautiful. I think this is one of the most windy spots we've come across in Paros, so we're going to try our best to eat this food before it blows away. But what I have here is a very classic Greek dish. This is a gyros, which literally translates to turning, and it's because the meat is cut from a turning spit in the center, and they actually cut off pieces of meat and they put it on a pita. We've noticed here in Greece, they actually serve their gyros on pitas with French fries, and I feel like the gyros I've had back home have not had French fries on there, so that's a really nice bonus. And I think the gyros are probably one of the most bang for your buck you can get while you're here. A lot of the sit-down restaurants can be a little pricey, but these gyros you can get for a pretty good price. So this looks pretty good, and this is a really beautiful spot to eat it. I'm gonna go in for my first bite here. I am just loving the fresh tzatziki sauce. It's one of those things where meat sometimes can feel really heavy, but the lightness of that creamy sauce is so nice. It almost has a slight acidity to it, which just adds that freshness to it, which is so funny to be paired with the French fries here. I'm gonna go for another bite. And that pita is just so warm and fresh. If you're looking for a great, cheap, and authentic bite, you gotta pick up a gyros.
And I went for pretty much the same thing, but the vegetarian option, which actually has mushroom on it. I do eat meat, but a lot of times I prefer the vegetarian option if it's available. So this looks pretty good. The mushroom looks pretty fresh on there. I expected it to be kind of grilled like the meat is, but I'm gonna go in for a bite here. Yeah, that is a huge, fresh, charred mushroom bite. That's really good if you're feeling a little maxed out on meat on your Greece trip. While on this part of the island, we're sitting down at a proper table to take in the harbor and enjoy another Greek classic.
So we are sitting in what we think is Little Venice here in the town of Nassau. We've ordered ourselves 2 Greek coffees. They asked us if we wanted to sit in the boat behind us where there's a couple tables, and we opted not to because we're actually going on a boat cruise in a couple hours now, and we didn't want to have our sea legs. But we're definitely a little tired. It's right around 2:30. We need a little pick-me-up.
The sun is in the 2/3 easterly quadrant, which would make it about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
So we ordered a Greek coffee, and Greek coffee is a little different. From what I understand, it's kind of like Bosnian coffee, where it's brewed in a small vessel and the grounds actually seep to the bottom, and then you just pour off the foamy cream on top into the cup. It looks really dark, and you can tell there's a lot of oils in there by the colorful bubbles. So I'm excited to take this first sip. It is strong, and there is just a little sweetness to it at the end. They asked how much sugar we want, and we said just a little bit of sugar. With Bosnian coffee, you actually dip your sugar in as you go, but this one is really nice. I think they balanced that really well, and it's a little windy as we're sitting in the shade, so truth be told, even though we're here end of September, a little warmth is actually kind of nice, so cheers.
So that's it for our Paros food tour. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe to see our other videos from the Greek islands and all over the world. We just released several videos on Mykonos, and have many more lined up for Paros and Santorini, so make sure you're subscribed so you see those as well. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!